Hi everybody, today I wanted to make a video to let you know that something in my work life has changed a little bit. I am going back into teaching, although not full-time, I'm just doing some supply work. But I wanted to make a video to explain what prompted the change and what it means for my writing, my books, my videos. So yeah, just a bit of a chat about what's going on. So if you're new to this channel, you might not know that I used to be a science teacher. I left the profession in 2018 when I started my self-publishing business. So let's start with me telling you a bit about my teaching experience. So I qualified in 2009. I did a work-based entry into teaching. So most people they do a university course, but mine was based at a school, and then I had day release to go to the university. And I still had to do placements, so I went to a primary school and I went to another secondary school so that you get an idea of different school environments. But yeah, that ran from 2008 and 2009, so that's called a GTP, which it stands for the Graduate Teacher Programme, and then I was qualified, and so I got a job at a different school, which is where I stayed until 2018. So my first year at that school was my NQT year, which stands for Newly Qualified Teacher Year, and so that's like an induction, but if you don't do your NQT year within a set period of time, you actually lose your qualified teacher status. So I think it's within 5 years. But so yeah, my first year there was my induction year, and I fell pregnant with my eldest. So when I completed my induction, I then went off on maternity leave. And when I came back off maternity, I stayed as a full-time member of staff. But then after I had my second so she was born at the end of 2012, and I went back in September 2013. I went back on a job share, which is how I stayed until I left in 2018. So yeah, I also did a master's in education. There was a module of it offered along with my teacher training, and then I carried it on and I graduated in 2013. So I just found education fascinating. I love trying to explain a concept, and I also really wanted a job that would be just really busy and full on and never a dull moment, and that was certainly true. It was never boring. So yeah, I mean, I love being a teacher, but most of the time that I was teaching, I was also writing. I started my first book, Milk, when my son was about 3 months old, so that would have been in 2010. And so, yeah, a lot of my teaching career, I was also writing that first book. So as I was finishing working on that, I was also thinking about the implications that had on my job as a teacher. And some of you might know that initially I pursued traditional publishing, and while I was doing that, I was pregnant with my third child, and then the decision to self-publish was after I had her and I was off on maternity. So we were having lots of conversations about what was best for the future of this book, what that meant for my teaching career, and also what was best for us as a family. And ultimately, it was going to be really hard to balance publishing the book along with teaching because of childcare and all of that stuff. I was already really busy, although I was only teaching part-time. Teaching is really full on. I'd be, marking and planning and stuff at night and on my days off and just trying to fit everything in all the time. It was really, really chaotic. And if I was self-publishing a book as well, that would have just been an awful lot. As well, we now had 3 children, and so we decided the best thing to do would be that I would take the opportunity of being at home, looking after our youngest, being able to do the school runs, all of that stuff, and working super flexibly on publishing my book and see how that goes. And that would just be much easier than the whole juggling act with teaching. It also came at a time when I was feeling really frustrated with teaching. We just had a whole raft of changes brought in by Michael Gove, where the grades had been changed from being A star to F to now being 9 to 1, and figuring out where the boundaries were and then communicating that with students and parents. And it also meant rewriting assessments, but we didn't have an awful lot of information. The exam boards were still trying to catch up because it was all done really, really quickly. We were trying to teach without resources and we were having to rewrite everything. And it's really frustrating when you're rewriting lessons and schemes of work and all that stuff that you've already done. And then, I don't know, just little niggly things that really started to get under my skin. And I loved teaching and I really loved the school I worked in, but sometimes things can just get a bit frustrating, and I really got to that point, and everything kind of came at the right time. That it was good for me to be at home with our youngest, and our other two were small as well. My eldest was 6 and my middle child was 4, so really young kids. I had this book I wanted to publish, I had future ideas I wanted to work on, and also I was starting to get a little bit fed up, and everything just came at the right time. So yeah, and at the time I didn't really foresee that I would return to teaching. I mean, never say never, and teaching is always one of those things that you can fall back on once you have your qualification. It's good to know that that's always there. But I kind of said no, I don't think I want to go back. You know, I've done my 10 years and now I'll move on to something else. And I still was working with schools as an author, going in and doing author visits, and absolutely loved that, still enjoy teaching and education and learning and schools and all of that, but was able to kind of step back from being a classroom teacher, if that makes sense. And then over the last 6 months or so, and I'll tell you what did it. My son has not long started secondary, and so we started looking at schools, and then now he's at secondary, he's telling me what he's doing in science and all the stuff, and I just, it's making me really nostalgic, and I find myself saying to him, oh well, when I was a science teacher, and oh, at our school we used to do things like this, and oh, you know, and it started to make me miss it. And it was just something at the back of my mind, not something I was particularly paying attention to. I mean, I'm exceptionally busy with writing stuff. And then since New Year, I kept hearing ads on the radio where they were calling for ex-teachers to sign up to do supply, because there's big shortages due to staff having to take lots of time off because of self-isolating. And I just kept hearing these ads and thinking, that sounds quite fun. And I'd never really thought about doing supply before. I was like, yeah, oh, yeah, it's quite a good idea. I mentioned it to my husband. He was like, it's a brilliant idea. And I wasn't sure he'd be up for it, but he was like, yeah, fantastic, do it. So we had a lot of long conversations about what that would mean for us as a family. We're both self-employed, so what that kind of, how we can work both of our jobs around it. And yeah, then I signed up and now I'm doing supply work, which all feels a bit, it's happened really fast. But basically there's a few things, aside from the fact that I was really missing being in a school. We're not even really doing it for financial reasons. I'd say one of the biggest motivating factors is that it would do me a lot of good to be working outside of the house a couple of days a week, because although I'm introverted and I enjoy working from home, I'm an extroverted introvert and I also need people, and I think that the balance isn't quite right, and it definitely, getting out of the house, seeing other people, kind of doing other stuff actually makes me more productive and is better for my mental health. So right now it feels like the right thing to do, and the lovely thing with doing supply is that I haven't had to sign a contract that means that, you know, I'm tied into this. I can see how it goes and I can do as many days a week as works for us, and if I'm really busy with publishing a book I can do less supply, and just really play it by ear and see how it feels. And that's what I like about it right now, because I don't want to commit to working in a school, no matter how much I miss teaching, at a time when I'm running my own business, and I could end up working in a school and having a really busy period of time as a teacher, and then also having a book release or being asked to do an event and not having the time to prepare for it, or whatever it might be. So supply just feels like the sort of answer to all of that. It gets me out of the house a bit, it would be really enjoyable, it would be lovely to get back into teaching again, just doing it a little bit as I can fit in with my commitments with writing, because I certainly don't want to lose everything I've worked for with that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited about being a classroom teacher again, because that's really different to coming in as an author and being like an external professional. So yeah, it'll be really good, and I hope it's going to be good for me and good for us as a family, and yeah, very exciting. But as I say, I will be you know, looking at the supply roles that I take on and fitting that around my writing. So if I'm really busy with a particular project, I'm not going to be taking away from that by doing lots and lots of teaching. And the only time it will impact on videos is if I take a longer stint of supply, and if I haven't managed to get a video filmed in preparation for that. I don't see it happening, but it is possible. So I wanted to let you guys know, and I'll put it on the community tab if it ever happens, to let you know that there won't be a video. But yeah, it will just be if there's like a bit of supply come up at the last minute and it means that I can't fit in filming around it. So, but yeah, it shouldn't do. So I think that is everything. I would like to make some videos about things like what I take with me for a day's supply, or I don't know, pros and cons of supply teaching, things like that. So if you're interested, or you want to know more about being a teacher or any of that stuff, let me know in the comments, and I'll look at making some more content around that. But yeah, anyway, don't forget to hit like, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one. Take care.